Cold has been one of the best players in the world for years, despite not really grinding the game very much. Most people think you need to play 12 hours a day to be at the top level, but Cold mostly just gets on for tournaments and is still a top 3 fragger in the world. But what strategies does Cold use in his gameplay to do this? Something that Cold is really good at is finding and taking the missing piece, meaning when there's a build the opponent should have placed but they didn't, Cold always takes advantage of this. In this first fight here, he wingsuits in and starts building towards the opponent. He misses his edit, but both him and the opponent realize that Cold took the wood wall between them, and most of the time the opponent would be out of range here to get shots, and he is looking to turn around and place a wall here to block his back as he gets out. Cold makes a really smart play here though. Instead of looking for a shot here, he knows that the build grid will allow him to take the wall by the opponent, even if he cannot actually see where the opponent is to shoot him. So he snags the wall and takes that extra missing piece, and is able to edit it and shoot the opponent while the opponent is looking to place his own wall here. Cold then follows the opponent and again takes the extra missing piece here. A lot of players would just look to 50-50 the opponent coming off of their floor, but Cold takes the floor and cone, but narrowly scuffs his edits, allowing his opponent to escape. Cold then cranks up towards the opponent where he baits the opponent to open, knowing that any 50-50 trade here is in his favor with the health advantage. If Cold had just looked to shoot the opponent at the start of the fight, the opponent would have been able to block the shot before Cold could see him, meaning that he wouldn't have been able to open up the fight and get the advantage. Here is another instance where Cold looks for the extra piece to quickly win a fight. He opens up the fight with 2 AR tags and sprint slides towards the opponent while spraying the opponent's front wall, places doubles, and instantly pulls out his gun to look for a pre-fire. In the span of about a second, he did 3 pressure options here, and the opponent needs to relocate and didn't get a chance to heal because of it. Cold starts pickaxing through the opponent's walls, and the opponent opens up here. Instead of looking to shoot, Cold knows the opponent is looking to move into the box behind him, so he just pulls out his wall and sets up an easy mongrel classic while blocking the shot and sprays the opponent. He then follows the opponent, and notice here how he takes this wall and looks to cone the opponent. This would have finished off the fight if he got it, but he was a fraction of a second off. The storm then starts coming, and Cold realizes very quickly that it is going to be 5-tick. Knowing he has hit the opponent for over 150 damage, he makes the quick decision to just leave the fight and go to zone, knowing that the opponent is pretty much stuck in storm in his own build, and Cold would get the chance to beam him out of the air with the wingsuit if he makes it back. Cold also knows he doesn't really need the refresh, so it's not crucial that he gets the loot, and instead just lets the opponent die to zone and gets the siphon to get him back to full HP and the kill point. Cold's decision making here was really strong, allowing him to win this fight. Here's one more example of Cold taking the missing piece. Here, Cold dive bombs on this rotating opponent to surprise him. Something else with Cold's gameplay that is really effective regardless if he plays the game a ton or not is that he does have a fragger's instinct to hard push anyone in the best possible manner who is even slightly distracted, leaving them open. If you look closely, Cold notices the opponent he is flying towards, quickly turns around here to look at another player who had just opened their cone behind him. Knowing the opponent is building to block his back and is not fully aware of the wingsuiters, Cold dive bombs where the opponent is going toward with his momentum instead of straight at him. If you've ever thrown an American football at a moving target, you know that you should aim where the target is moving towards instead of where they are, as it takes time for the ball to actually move to its destination. Cold uses this principle here. He aims ahead of the distracted opponent with his wingsuit here, so he is moving into him and gets a free tag since Cold was too close for the opponent to quickly block his shot. Cold then goes up here and crucially places a cone above him on the opponent's floor when he is going up. This sets him up to break through the opponent's floor, allowing him to instantly edit up, take the missing wall in front of the opponent who thought he would have more time, and cone and shoot the opponent to quickly finish the fight. This fragger's instinct that Cold has allows him to find quick kills and refreshes on opponents who are even the slightest bit distracted. Here's an example of this in the endgame here. Cold is on height and he is starting to look for a refresh, and he sets up an angle here where he has a good view of everything directly below him, which often players fail to do on height, and their tarp often obstructs their point of view. Because of this, he gets a tag on a rotating opponent and cracks his shield. Most players here would get shot in the side when going for this refresh, but Cold makes a really nice play here when he notices an opponent staring at him, and he just stares right back and pre-fires until he can move to safety. He then boxes up right above the opponent to cover his top and simply double pickaxes in here, as the opponent assumes that Cold had boxed up elsewhere or had already rotated since there was a pretty large time gap between these two time frames. Being able to take your crosshair off of a possible refresh and have a mental track of where they are in the endgame is really valuable, and Cold also invested a ton of extra materials into making sure that he could safely take this 50-50 to get more materials as the outcome. Back to taking the extra piece though. Something that Cold does all the time to secure kills is taking the middle wall in an opponent's 2x1. Here's a quick example of that, where Cold sees an opponent and tags him once. Cold jump slides while spraying at the opponent to make sure he couldn't heal, and pieces up above the opponent, taking away the option to escape from above. Cold is about to drop down to the side here, and he's already made up his mind on what he is going to do before he even does it here. He hits the wall once with his pickaxe and pulls out his gun to pre-fire. Before Cold even drops down to the wall, he knows the opponent is looking to edit on him here, since he didn't tag him for very much. So Cold swings left here to cover himself with the opponent's edit, where the opponent misses a tough shot. Instead of looking to shoot instantly from the pre-fire, since the opponent's wall is open, Cold looks to take this mid wall in the 2x1 here that the opponent left open. From here, finishing the fight is simple. Open a wide edit with a health advantage while the opponent is trying to escape, and pump and spray him. I can't even tell you how many times good players like Cold take this mid wall here for a free kill. It is the biggest mistake that competitive players consistently make. All you need to do is place a wall here and edit it open before you get pressured, but so many players forget to do that. Here's another example. Cold starts the fight by boxing himself in to protect himself from third parties, and weakens multiple of the opponent's pieces, and takes a ton of piece all around to establish an advantage in the fight. He sprays through a wood wall since they have such little HP for 2 free tags, and the opponent tries to disengage, but Cold chases. Similar to that earlier example, Cold does a good job of placing cones on the opponent's floors instantly here to make sure the opponent didn't have an easy edit, which also allows him to set up this really nice chop play since he took the cone here. Chopping is also something Cold does a lot that I will go over later. He gets a free tag here and follows the opponent and goes to pickaxe his wall. Again, this opponent fails to take the middle wall in his 2x1, and Cold is able to finish the fight that way. As I mentioned, Cold uses chopping a ton, which is another strategy that remains strong regardless of the meta. He gets on a good high layer in the endgame here and notices that someone built their base entirely on top of his brick box. Players do this all the time, as most people don't expect to get chopped in a chaotic endgame where additional builds are being connected pretty often. Cold realizes though that on this high layer he is relatively safe to make a play here, and the opponent doesn't have anything else to connect to, so he simply top row edits the 4 walls of his box and easily finds a quick refresh. Here is one final example of Cold's smart decision making in this fight here. To start the fight, he takes the opponent's wall and almost hits a shot, but instead of getting tunnel vision here inside old builds and continuing to follow the opponent, he resets his builds and relocates to another angle. He does a common setup players use when they are about to drop down on the opponent's wall, but instead of dropping down, he stops on a dime to hit the opponent's cone to bait him into opening, where Cold is sitting there ready with the pre-fire. Cold gets third partied here and leaves his top open while he heals to gather info on both his opponent and the third partier, knowing he will have time to react if one of them makes a play. He then blocks the third partier's angle with his base and starts smacking the opponent's tops. He takes the cone and makes a great play here using his movement. He opens the cone and starts to shoot the floor. While he is shooting though, he is moving toward the left to get behind his edited wall, but the opponent reacts to his visual audio where he should be able to get a pump shot in, but Cold has moved behind the wall by the time the opponent peeks while he's spraying. Cold is unable to shoot the opponent from a really strong right hand peek and then takes the low health floor and easily finishes the fight. Cold has put in a ton of work over the years to master decision making and taking the extra piece from the opponent, and combined with his incredible aim and Fragger's instinct, he is able to maintain his really high level of play without grinding despite many meta changes. If you are interested in an up and coming pro who looks like he might become the best Fragger in the world, check out this video on Chino.